Come on in, honey. The lantern's lit, the veil's a little thin, and the wind's been dying to carry a few secrets your way. Welcome to Raven's Ramblings, where the shadows walk beside us and the past never stays buried, and a good spell can speak louder than a sermon. I'm Raven Nightingale, part healer, part hellraiser, keeper of the old ways and ghost stories alike. So pull up a chair and listen close. You never know what might be whispering in the dark. Hey everyone, welcome back to Raven's Ramblings. Tonight we're going to talk about something that can make some people feel a little bit uneasy. We're going to talk about the witches who talk with the dead or to the dead, depending on how you look at it. Now, I'm not talking about like seance tables and horror movie nonsense, nothing like that. Nothing, no entertainment factor. How's that? I'm talking about something older than that, quieter than that. The kind of magic that kind of happens when you stand in a cemetery long enough that the world around you gets still. When the wind itself moves through the trees, and when you realize the living are not the only ones who have stories to tell. So, some witches work with the moon. A lot of us do. Some work with herbs. I do. Some have tarot cards and candle spells. And some of us feel a pull toward the places where the veil feels thin. Old cemeteries, weathered headstones, graves that have been standing longer than anyone alive remembers. Places where the air feels heavy with memory. For me personally, that pull started long, long before I ever called myself a witch. When I was young, there was a cemetery near where I lived, which I have a lot of family members in. And I spent a unusual amount of time there. Not because it was spooky, no, because it wasn't. It really wasn't. But because it was quiet, because it was safe, because the world stopped yelling there. And you learn things in places like that, not through voices or visions, but through stillness and through listening. I would sit next to my grandmother's grave a lot and just talk to her and tell her things or complain about life or ask questions that I didn't really expect any answers to. And back then, back in the 1900s, I did not think of it as ancestry work because I didn't even know what that was at the time. It was just my grief. It was love that just didn't know where else to go. But looking back now, I realize that talking to the dead is one of the oldest human instincts that there is. It is before religion, before organized magic. People left food out for their ancestors. They lit candles or they whispered names into the dark. We've always known that the dead don't simply just disappear. Every culture on this planet has some version of ancestor reverence, you know? Because people understood something that we try really hard to forget now. The dead are not gone. They are part of the soil beneath our feet. They are part of the blood that runs through our veins. They are part of the story that shapes who we are as people. And you carry them with you, whether you acknowledge them or not. Now, let me say something clearly. Working with the dead is not about power at all. It is not about summoning spirits like they're party tricks. Mm-mm. Don't be disrespectful because it is all about respect, deep respect, because death is not entertainment. It is the final chapter of every human life. And those people that are buried beneath those stones were once just like you and me. They laughed and loved and struggled, and they hoped that they would be remembered. When I walk through a cemetery now, I try to pay attention to the little things that you see, like names on the stones that are worn down by weather and time, the dates that tell quiet stories, things like a child who lived for 3 years, or a woman who lived to be 90, a family plot where the same last name repeats across those generations. Every stone there is a life. And standing there reminds you of something that most people try really hard not to think about. None of us want to think about it, but none of us are here forever. That's not a morbid thought. It's a powerful thought because when you sit with the dead long enough, you start to understand something that life matters more when you remember that it ends. Time becomes precious, love becomes urgent, and all those little small things stop feeling quite so small. I think that we witches who feel drawn to cemeteries aren't obsessed with death. We're obsessed with truth. The kind of truth that only shows up when you strip away the bullshit and the noise of the living world. Because cemeteries and graveyards, they don't give two shits about your status or your money or your social media. Every person under those stones ended the same way, dust returning to earth. And maybe that's why those places feel so grounding to me, because they remind us of what actually matters: kindness, connections, the stories that we leave behind, the love that we give while we are still on this side of the veil. So if you ever feel drawn to a cemetery, if you find peace in those quiet spaces, if you've ever sat by a grave and just spoken out loud to someone who isn't physically here anymore, you're not strange. All right? I mean, not about that particular thing. That's not strange. You are participating in something ancient, something human, something very deeply witchy. Yeah. And maybe the witch who talked to the dead isn't seeking messages. Maybe they're remembering that the past lives that are beneath her feet, remembering that life is brief, remembering that someday someone will stand over her grave and wonder who she was. Yeah, that's some deep stuff, right? Right? So when you walk through the world tomorrow, carry that awareness with you. The dead are not just behind us. They are part of the story that made us possible. And sometimes the most powerful magic that we as witches can practice is remembering them. So before we end, I want to offer a small ritual. Nothing elaborate, just a quiet moment of connection. Yeah. If you're somewhere comfortable, you might light a candle. If you don't have a candle, totally okay. Your attention is enough. So take a breath. Think about someone who came before you, someone you love, or even someone in your family line that you've never met. Picture their face if you can, or simply say their name quietly. Now say something simple like, "Thank you for the life that made mine possible." And let that sit for a moment. You don't need signs, you don't need messages. Just acknowledge that you are part of a very long human story and that the people who came before you are woven into who you are now. When you're ready, take another breath, blow out your candle if you lit one, and carry that awareness with you. Because remembering the dead is not about living in the past, it's about honoring the roots that allow us to stand here today. So, thank you for traveling down what some would call a morbid path tonight with me. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and don't be afraid of the quiet places. Sometimes, a lot of times, the dead have more wisdom than the living. Bye.